Our democracy seems to be teetering on the brink of a crisis. Are we still just teetering on the brink, or are we in crisis?
I think we have to worry.
Potentially, this could be the end of American democracy.
Hey there. Is your democracy ending? Are you feeling anxious about your rights? Well, this video will put your mind at ease. Who knows? It might be one of the last videos you're allowed to watch.
The end. Well, I'm afraid I'm not satisfied with those kind of explanations for broad social phenomena that in fact are reaching around the globe. Why are people chanting, "I want my country back"? We could say, oh, they want their country back from minorities or people that are a different colour or a different persuasion. But even if that's what they think, and I don't know what they think, even if that is what they think, the fact is that their country, their rights, their access to utilities, to freedom has been eroded over time. This is a country that abandoned its own people in 2008 after the stock market crash, choosing to prop up financial institutions that could have gone under, and as George Monbiot writes, create an opportunity to entirely revise financial and social systems. So whilst it's obviously wrong for people to be violent in any context, if that is true, then the violence that preceded it must be regarded as wrong also. I'm talking about state violence, whether that's international violence or the violence of abandoning the people that you're elected to serve.
100 miles away in Delaware, President-elect Joe Biden pleaded for the intervention of the one man who could halt this.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
A few simple statistics to consider. Billionaire wealth grew by $637 billion during the pandemic, whilst more than 40 million Americans filed for unemployment. During a series of financial crises, US billionaires have gained from wealth-friendly tax laws and loopholes from both Republican and Democrat governments, meaning that by 2020, the combined wealth of the billionaire class in the US had increased by 80%, whilst 4 in 10 people didn't have enough cash in their account to cover a $400 expense. And if we're investing in the possibility that Biden might represent change, real change, consider these words. When Biden spoke to wealthy donors at the Carlyle Hotel in Manhattan last year, he told them, "No one's standard of living will change." Biden's donors during the election included at least 134 billionaires, including backers from Silicon Valley. He subsequently appointed former employees of Facebook, Microsoft and Amazon to his transition team. Biden has also appointed General Lloyd Austin as his defense secretary. Austin is a member of the board of directors at Raytheon, an arms manufacturer who sealed an $8 billion sale to Saudi Arabia in 2019, whose precision-guided bombs killed untold numbers of civilians in Saudi Arabia's ongoing brutal war in Yemen. So I suppose what I'm saying is that what is interesting about these disturbances, about this disruption, is that during the last few months we have seen a continuation of increasing inequality. It is likely, given the architecture of the Biden government, that most people, regardless of their colour or their class, will not see significant change in their quality of life. But the people and institutions that are privileged will continue to have access to that privilege, even if there are superficial cultural changes. So I suppose my ultimate conclusion is this. If you want to be free of this kind of behaviour, then we have to contribute to the creation of conditions that help us to be free of it. I hope that what happens when Joe Biden's presidency begins is we see a re-evaluation of the rules of society, an unlocking of power, an improvement for ordinary American people, low-income American people of all colours and all persuasions, a rebuilding of some values that bring together community. But when you look at the people that support, finance and fund the Democratic Party, when you look at the way that Bernie Sanders was treated in that party, I think it's highly unlikely, because it seems to me that the primary purpose of the American democratic system is its own preservation. And the transition between Republican Party and the Democratic Party can do many things, I'm sure, but one thing it can never do is change meaningfully the lives of ordinary people.
Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny Thomas, was far more involved in efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election than previously thought. And now, finally, the House Select Committee investigating the riots that transpired on January 6th are reconsidering their decision to include her in their investigation. Previously, they were leaning against it. Now, with some new emails they've obtained, they're reconsidering that previous decision. Now, they've obtained email correspondences between Ginny Thomas and lawyer John Eastman, who of course played a key role in efforts to pressure Vice President Mike Pence to block the certification of Joe Biden's victory. Now, last week, a federal judge ordered Eastman to turn over more than 100 documents to the committee. Eastman had tried to block the release of those and other documents by arguing that they were privileged communications and therefore should be protected. But considering the outcome and the ruling, the judge wasn't buying that argument and ordered the release of those 100 documents. Now, apparently in those documents, there are exchanges between Ginny Thomas and Eastman, and based on individuals with knowledge of those exchanges, it doesn't look good for Ginny Thomas, and she absolutely should be part of this investigation. Now, there are other things that we do know. For instance, earlier this year, US District Judge David O. Carter ordered Eastman to release numerous documents to the committee. So this isn't the first time that documents have been ordered to be released to the committee. He also rejected the privilege claims that Eastman had used. And in April and May, Eastman turned over more than 1,000 documents to the committee. And again, now the committee is thinking, maybe we need to look into Ginny Thomas's role here. And also, maybe someone like Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas should be recused from making any decision in regard to what transpired on January 6th. Now, here's what we also know about Ginny Thomas based on previous reporting. In the weeks after 2020, the 2020 election, Ginny Thomas repeatedly pressed Mark Meadows, the White House chief of staff, to overturn the outcome, according to text messages obtained by the Post and CBS News. After January 6th, she told Meadows in a text that she was, quote, disgusted with Pence, who had refused to help block the certification of Biden's Electoral College victory. She wrote, quote, "We are living through what feels like the end of America," end quote. So attempting to steal the election on behalf of Trump, attempting a coup, she doesn't feel is the potential end of America and democracy as we know it. She felt allowing Biden to serve as president after he rightfully and fairly won the election, that's the end of America, according to her. There's more. In an email on November 9th, Thomas sent identical emails to 27 lawmakers in the Arizona House and Senate, urging them to stand strong in the face of political and media pressure. The email claimed that the responsibility to choose electors, which belongs to voters under Arizona state law, was, quote, yours and yours alone, end quote, and claimed that the legislature had the power to fight back against fraud and ensure that a clean slate of electors is chosen. And there's more. And remember, this is what we already know. There's still more that we're about to find out based on the latest emails that were obtained by the Select Committee. On December 13th, the day before presidential electors were scheduled to cast their votes and seal Biden's victory, Thomas emailed 21 of those lawmakers plus 2 others. Again, this is in Arizona. Before you choose your state's electors, consider what will happen to the nation we all love if you don't stand up and lead, the email said. It linked to a video of a man urging swing state lawmakers to put things right and not give in to cowardice. And this is a huge problem, as you've stated before, Cenk, because Clarence Thomas has already, ruled in a decision pertaining to the riots and the attempts to steal the election on behalf of Donald Trump. In January, the Supreme Court rejected a request by Trump to block the release of his White House records to the House committee investigating January 6th. But guess what? Unsurprisingly, Clarence Thomas was the only justice to dissent, siding with Trump.
Yeah, so there's one clear issue here. First on Ginny Thomas, look, I think she's legitimately crazy. I think she's bonkers. Like if you asked her if is the sky blue, I'm not sure you're gonna get a clear answer. I think a lot of these right wingers literally should be in insane asylums. I'm not at all kidding, okay? So she believes fantastical things that aren't even anywhere near true. She's totally detached from reality. So Anna, that's a weird defense of her. So does she know that she was trying to end democracy? I don't know that. I mean, she might have thought that the dinosaurs were going to come back and eat democracy. She's cuckoo for COVID. They're all nuts, including Clarence Thomas. Totally, utterly nuts, okay? So they live in an alternate reality where Donald Trump telling Mike Pence, hey, maybe one man should decide the elections and not the voters, is more democratic, not less democratic. How do you talk to someone who's not attached to reality, who doesn't understand words and language and logic? So, I mean, to that point, how do they even view America? She thinks it's the end of America as we know it. We view America as a democracy based on the rule of law and the Constitution, etc. But I think that a lot of people in Ginny Thomas's position view America as we're in charge.
Totally.
We are America. And if we are not in charge anymore, then it isn't America. So in their mind, that is not inconsistent. So now to the point of the story. Obviously, Clarence Thomas has to recuse himself from all of these decisions. It's not anywhere near close. Your wife is conspiring with the people being accused of pulling off this coup attempt. She's having text messages with Mark Meadows, who's at the very core of the attempt. She sent emails to John Eastman, who devised the plan for the coup. I mean, it's not anywhere near close. Remove politics from it. Imagine if it was a murder case or any other case. Your wife is accused of sending emails to the defendants. Of course you can't judge that case. I mean, look, if they're not, it's not just about Clarence Thomas. I get it. He doesn't care. He's a fascist. He would love for Trump to take over and end all of democracy. But it's on John Roberts, and if there's any honest Supreme Court justices left, to say, no, I don't give a goddamn what you think, Clarence. You're not on these cases. It's not close. You recuse yourself or we remove you, period.